When Scott Sager asked me to share some thoughts on our communal return from the exile of COVID for this series of lessons, I decided we'd turn to the book of Mark and look at a story from Jesus' life that makes me think about the new ideas and new skills we've all had to learn in these difficult situations. You know, that's one thing that the COVID virus shutdown has caused. It's caused us to rethink how we do things, whether it is how we clean our homes, or how we order our food, or how we communicate with one another. We've all learned a whole lot about Zoom and Google Meet or Hangout. In fact, my wife, can I brag on my wife a minute? My wife has become a Zoom ninja. I mean, she's got a Zoom Bible study and a Zoom gathering with her girlfriends every week and a Zoom book club. And I bet a bunch of you have found yourself learning a lot of technology, even like my 80-year-old sister who has figured out on her iPad how to watch church where she attends each week. So, with those new ways of thinking and new creativity come changes, but will we lose all of those when our churches reopened, as some of yours already have? This coronavirus shutdown will take a while to go away, but what of these new ideas and these creative ways of approaching things ought we to hang on to? Or more importantly, how about just the drive to find new and better ways to do things? Well, in Mark chapter 2, there is a healing that almost didn't happen, except for some new ideas and creativity. Join me if you will. Mark chapter 2 and verse 1. A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that He had come home. They gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left, not even outside the door, and He preached the word to them. So here's the setting. Jesus has come back to His hometown area, and the word gets out. It's like a new restaurant. There wasn't a seat to be had. The Bible says that the house was completely filled. Sing it. It wasn't a church, right? It was a home church, maybe like you've been involved with. And so can you imagine people everywhere? People in the kitchen, people in the dining room, people all over, outside the door. And Jesus standing and preaching the word to them, or sitting in their midst, as they're more likely to do in His culture. Somebody says, what a great scene, man. Jesus comes and the house is packed, right? Well, it's not a great scene if you're the person who was last to the party and trying to get in. And it's especially not a great scene if you're someone who was disabled. As we find in this text, there was a man who had been paralyzed, who, well, follow the reading with me. Some men came, bringing to Him, that is Jesus, a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them. Now, I've often wondered, when these guys get to the house, what they're thinking. First off, who are they anyway? Here's a man who's paralyzed, disabled. I had someone say, well, maybe they were His servants. No, no, no. If you're paralyzed in Jesus' day, if you're disabled then, you're not going to have servants. In fact, you're probably going to be a beggar. It was a very difficult life for someone who wasn't able to walk in the days of Jesus. Think about a time before wheelchairs, before the ADA, right? And before smooth roads. It was a terrible life, which is why it seems these 4 guys wanted to help their buddy. And by the way, they're not noted as being family. This isn't his brother and his cousin. These are 4 caring friends who get him, put him on a mat and say, hey, listen, we've heard about this great teacher and healer Jesus, let's go. But when they get to the house, they can't even get close to the door. It's packed. Maybe they go around the back thinking they can get in there. No, maybe they go around to the other side, and there they are with this poor guy on the mat when it dawns on them, we can't get in. Now, don't you think the normal thing to do would have been to say, hey, Bob, I'm sorry, we should have come earlier. Maybe he'll be here tomorrow. We'll come by earlier tomorrow. And Bob would have probably said, hey, guys, you've done your best. But that's not what happens in this story of a healing that almost didn't take place because they couldn't get him to the healer. Since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus by digging through it and then lowered the mat the man was lying on. Okay, let this sink in. This is the craziest moment. These four friends of this guy, instead of saying, excuse me, pardon me, can we get through? And maybe they even tried that. In fact, let's pause and reflect on that. Who were all those people that were in their way? Who were those people that wouldn't let this poor lame guy be passed hand over hand to get into them? I guess that was us in the story, right? We're the ones who get to church early. This is my pew. I've got my seats. We're the ones that pack out the building and maybe don't even look over our shoulder at somebody who needs a hand. But boy, these four guys didn't do what was normal. They decided they would try something absolutely crazy. I don't know which of them came up with the idea. Hey, listen, you get up on the roof and we'll pull aside probably a thatched roof, right? We'll pull aside some of the straw, pull aside some of the boards, and we'll let him down through. You think it's crazy. Think what Bob thought when they explained it to him. We'll get you up there and we'll just drop you through. Man, I can imagine how scared he was. Don't worry, Bob. What, you worried you're going to break your leg? Even if you break your leg, Jesus is there to heal you. I mean, it's really a nuts situation. But what made them do it? What prompted them to go that far? I want to say three things about this guy, these four friends. First, I want to say that they were determined to get their friend to Jesus, and nothing was going to stop them. Their motto was, we have got to get him to Jesus. Boy, doesn't that convict you? It convicts me. They wouldn't say, oh, he'd never listen. Well, if I give him an invite to tune in to church online with me, he'd never listen. Why? She would never come to a small group Bible study. No, they said, I don't care what it takes. We're going to find a way to get our friend to Jesus. May we have that attitude, Lord. And not only that, they were willing to think about new ways of doing so, about a crazy new idea, like tearing a hole in the roof. By the way, don't you think that if they did, the owner of the house who was right in there would be going, what are you guys doing? As little bits of the roof start caving in. And was it dangerous? Yeah, I imagine it was in more ways than one for them to be up there and then passing Bob up and then letting him down through the hole in the roof. But they said, we've got to get our friends to Jesus. And if what we're doing now isn't working, we got to find something that is. Friends, I hope that this coronavirus time has reminded us, oh, we can't have our small group. Yeah, we can. We'll do it over Zoom. Well, we really can't serve other people. Yeah, you can. You can leave those goods that they need on the front door, or you can do your shopping by social distance and then leave it for them. Well, it's too bad I can't be there to put my check in the mail. No, you can send it by Venmo or Zelle or whatever it is you want to use. I wonder what other hole-in-the-roof ideas have yet to be thought of. I wonder what new ways of sharing the gospel could happen if we stop saying, well, all we know is the way we've always done it. And we're willing to say, what about a hole in the roof? You see, they were determined to get their friend to Jesus. They were willing to try a crazy idea, and they chose even to put themselves at some risk. It's been a long time ago, but I was ministering at a church in Southern California and met a couple that lived in the neighborhood. Had a Bible study with them. Both of them, Mike and Karen, ended up being baptized. Karen was a sweet gal. Mike was a marketer. And Karen was, well, how can I say this? She didn't grow up in the church. And so she'd wear things to church that would cause some of the sweet older ladies their eyes to roll and cause some of our teens to go, wow, who is that? Yeah, Karen didn't come with your typical church background, but man, she loved Jesus. And so when she came to me one summer and said, Jeff, I've got such a great idea about how we can bring more people to Christ. I'd been preaching on evangelism. And she said, I've got an idea. And I thought, oh, wow, who knows what this will be. She said, why don't we host a carnival here in the parking lot at church? Now, I'm staring at her thinking, carnival? This is back in the 70s when nobody in their right mind in a Church of Christ would have thought you could do a carnival in the parking lot. I mean, I'm thinking carnival, coming from the Latin carne for fleshly. Yeah, right. We're a church. We do VBS. We do preschool. We don't do carnivals. But Karen kept saying how fantastic an idea and we could get people from the community. She said, I was driving by a carnival and they had pony rides and such, and I thought, why don't we do it at church? Well, I'd been a minister long enough. I knew how to handle a person with a crazy idea like that. I said, well, the elders meet on Wednesday night after Bible class. Why don't you go in and share that idea with them? She said, great, can I do that? I said, I'll make the appointment. Well, that Wednesday night, Karen was there ready. She'd even have some things drawn up on paper of what she thought we could do. I dropped her off at the door of the classroom where the elders were meeting and went back to my office and waited because I knew what was going to happen. Our eldership was going to say, we don't do that here. And I was ready to be pastoral to her when she got back from the meeting. Sure enough, in about 20 minutes, there was a knock on my office door and Karen came in. I said, well, how'd the meeting go? And I was ready for her to tell me how they told her she couldn't and I was going to console her. She slumped down in the chair and said, they think it's a great idea and they want you to help me with it. I thought, what? A carnival? They want me to help you put a carnival on our parking lot? She said, yeah. I said, I'll be right back. I ran over to that classroom and poked my head in and said, guys, Karen just came and said, you told her a carnival was okay for us to have. They said, yeah, we did. I said, how are we going to afford it? She said, she and Mike are going to pay for it. Make it happen. I went back to my office thinking, what in the world? Karen had a list of the different rides and she wanted me to go with her to the place where we were going to rent the rides. And she did have a couple of good ideas. She said one of the booths we could have is a Bible storytelling. And we could do it a couple of weeks before Vacation Bible School and invite the families to bring their kids back. Well, that was a pretty good marketing idea. But my worst fears came true when I rode with her up to Los Angeles, to a place out in LA County where they store the carnival rides while they're not being used. We pulled up at this lot in this kind of seedy area. She went into the office and I followed her, and there was Charlie. Well, Charlie took one look at Karen and said, oh man, pleased to meet you, ma'am. Charlie was the guy who oversaw the renting of the rides. He said, here, let's walk around. I'll show you some of these blinkety-blink rides. Now, he didn't say blinkety-blink. In fact, Charlie's language was about as blue as it could get. Come over here. Now, this blinkety-blink thing is really love. The kids are really going to love it. It didn't seem to bother Karen at all, but I was turning red. I kept saying, well, our church is going to use this, and you know, as the minister of the church, that didn't slow Charlie down. Charlie cussed us up one aisle and cussed us down the other. And finally, after Karen and he had worked out a plan for 3 or 4 rides that we were going to rent, we got back to the office. I was ready to be done. I mean, I'm sorry, but my little Christian eyes were like this. This guy had a calendar up on the wall, which made Karen's dresses look rather modest, tattoos all over him, smoking a big cigar, and he said, all right, I'm going to make you a blinkety-blink good deal because you're a church. We got ready, and I said, all right, so do we come and pick up the rides? He said, oh, no, we'll bring them to your place. I said, okay, and then you'll drop them off and come back and get them the next day? He said, drop them off? I can't leave you with our rides. We'll provide an operator for each one. An operator? From here? Oh yeah, I'll probably come and run one of them, and then I got some other guys that'll run them. No worry, they're carnies. They know how to do that. Now, you need to know that in my mind, I'm thinking, carnies. Tatted, smoking, cussing, carnies are going to be there on our church property. And when the families bring their kids up, they'll say, well, blinkety-blink, get on this ride. Welcome to the Blinkety-Blink Church of Christ here. I mean, I'm panicked. I said, sir, I think we've got people who can handle this. He said, no, you don't get the rides without us. It's a safety thing. We know how to do it. I got in the car with Karen after signing the papers, and I am just thinking of the nightmare this is going to be. Fast forward to the day of the carnival. I'm out there running around meeting all the carnies saying, sorry, no smoking, and no cussing. And can you roll your sleeve down there? I don't want anybody to see that tattoo. Oh, I was a nervous little Nellie running around trying to make everything look right. And finally, the time came for us to start the carnival. Karen had balloons and signs and people began pulling in. I was nervous as could be that a carny would say something wrong or that somebody would say, oh, those must be the church's deacons. How interesting. Well, not only did that not happen, but a moment that changed my perspective about new ideas happened. A family came up. A man named Steve came up to me and said, well, I hear you're the preacher here. I said, yeah, I am. He said, well, we want to say thank you. Our kids enjoyed this, but what's the catch? I mean, where's the collection plate? I know we need to give some money, so I want to make a donation to your church for doing this because all the rides are free. I said, well, I know they're free. Now, they do earn tickets to more rides if they go to the Bible study booth or the Bible story booth. He said, oh, I know, that's fine. They've been there, but here. Well, now, we'd already had a plan for this. I said, well, Steve, thank you for offering to do that, but we don't take up collections on Saturday. He said, well, when can I give you the money? I said, well, if you'll come tomorrow at 10:15, we have a worship service and you can come right in and drop that in the plate. He laughed and said, all right, that's good. That's good. You got a program for children tomorrow? I said, we sure do, and a vacation Bible school coming up in a week or so that's free as well. Steve and his family showed up on Sunday, as well as several others who had been at the carnival, who probably would never have given us a look had it not been for a hole in the roof idea by a young believer who nearly got stopped by a cranky minister. Yeah, I guess if the healing we read about was the healing that almost didn't happen, that carnival was the carnival that almost didn't happen. And if that hadn't happened, then Steve and his family would not have started coming, started a Bible study with me, and been baptized into Jesus. It launched so many great things for our church because somebody said, there's got to be a way to get our neighbors to meet Jesus, and was willing to try a hole in the roof idea. Thanks to Karen and to our elders and to the rest of the congregation that embraced that crazy thing. It's the same thing that happened in the story of the man who was let down through the roof. Let's finish it, that 5th verse. After they lower him down, here's what the Bible says happened. When Jesus saw their faith, He said to the paralyzed man, son, your sins are forgiven. Did you notice whose faith he was touched by? Not just the paralyzed man, but the 4 friends on the roof. When he saw their faith. I'm hoping that God will look at our churches, our families, as we go through this time of coronavirus and coming out, Lord willing, the other side. And He will see us trying new things, trying crazy ideas, trying hole-in-the-roof ideas to share Jesus with others, to see that people who need Christ get a chance to meet Him. Maybe I'll put it this way. We Christians have to care enough to take a risk on the roof because getting those we love to Jesus is worth it.